the forest, how to live simple. If live simple, so we don't have some distractions. If one has gone to the forest to practice austerity and you're carrying boga, what was carrying all cooking utensils, you will spend time in cooking than meditating. so we go completely depending on the nature, whatever comes. You take simple life and just continue. So we have less duration to practice. Like Sanatana Swami said, I don't want disturbance here, salt and pepper, and please go to your mother. For here, this is all I have. So I have to concentrate. This principle we should maintain, so we can move forward in our practice. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest, not unnecessary wasting of time for facilities. It is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. In the forest, one can make a form with no more than earth and water, and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful, and will be satisfied simply with eating whatever fruit and vegetables are available in the forest. It is essential for a devotee to worship the form of the Lord and not only meditate upon the form of the Lord within his mind with the chanting of the mantra given by the spiritual master. The worship of the form must be present. Yes, that is required. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations, such as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potency. Now the monitor Dhruva Maharaj to meditate on the form, to chant the mantra, and to think about the Lord's pastimes. These 3 things are recommended for Dhruva Maharaj. So it's complete. A devotee should always consider that Krishna does not appear as an ordinary human being or ordinary beast. His appearance as Varaha Murti or a horse or tortoise is an exhibition of his internal potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibha Tabis. One should not mistake the appearance of the Lord as a human being or a beast to be the same as the birth of an ordinary conditioned soul, who is forced to appear by the laws of nature, whether as an animal, as a human being, or as a demigod. This kind of thinking is offensive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of their thinking that the Lord and the conditioned living entities are one and the same. They're not the same, they're different. One should follow in the footsteps of previous devotees regarding how to worship the Supreme Lord with the prescribed paraphernalia. Or one should offer worship within the heart by reciting the mantra to the Personality of Godhead, who is non-different from the mantra. For the example we have, the story of the Brahmana who worshipped the Lord within his mind, as related in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the nectar of devotion should be consulted in this connection. If paraphernalia is not present physically, one can think of the items and offer them to the deity by chanting the mantra. Such are the liberal and potent facilities in the process of devotional service. Liberal and potent. Liberal and potent. It is potent, although it is simple, but it's potent. In other words, there is a chance for everyone in any situation of life to serve Lord Krishna. No one can say that I have no qualification, I have no science to serve Krishna. Krishna has made himself available. I will say Krishna is liberal. He has set the standard which can be followed by anyone. Even if you have zero facilities to serve Lord Krishna, we have the mind. Krishna has given the mind. So we can serve Krishna in the mind and attain the same result. So this story is there for Brahmana in the nectar of devotion. Anyone who thus engages in the devotional service of the Lord seriously and sincerely, this is a qualification, seriously and sincerely with his mind, word and body, and who is fixed in activities of the prescribed devotional method, is blessed by the Lord according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, he is awarded this result also. Krishna has been maintaining everyone since time immemorial. Even those who are serving him and those who are not serving him, the animals are not worshipping Krishna. They don't have deity, they worship Krishna. Krishna is maintaining. So how Krishna will not maintain those who have taken his full shot? How will not maintain? He's taking care of demons who are against him also. Maintaining him. So he's always there for everybody. If one is very serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service, engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy, and he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification. Only persons who are completely free from the contamination of sense gratification can execute Bhakti Yoga, or the process of devotional service, very purely. Kunti Devi also said, someone who is not free from material desire cannot pray sincerely to Krishna with feelings. Our prayers, our relationship with Krishna is full of contamination because there is something in between. The pure love for Godhead means there is nothing in between. The activities on the part of Apavarga up to the stages of Dharma, Artha, and Kama are meant for sanctification. But when one comes to the stage of Moksha, the impersonalist liberation, the practitioner wants to merge into the existence of the Supreme. But that is also sanctification. When one goes above the stages of liberation, the stage of liberation, however, he at once becomes one of the associates with the Lord to render transcendental loving service. That is technically called Vimukti. For this specific Vimukti liberation, Narada Muni recommends that one directly engage himself in devotional service to the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and who is therefore especially auspicious. after getting instruction and relevant questions are asked for clarification, when that is done, now the disciple should fully engage himself in executing that order. That is what we learn from Dhruva Maharaj. This is what he did. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan and Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. What is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" Narada Muni did not ask him, "How are you?" Because that is Shudra way of greeting. He asked about his duty, his varana, his prescribed duty, if he is doing it nicely. If it is not, then there is something wrong that is making his faith to be withered. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic economic development, and sense gratification. He asked him about his duty. The same thing Krishna did to the Brahman and Rukmini Devi sent to him. He asked if he's doing his Brahmanical activities nicely. He didn't ask him, "Oh, how are you?" So as devotee, when we meet, you should inquire from each other if our sadhana is going on nicely. That is how devotees greet. Our sadhana is going nicely. We are happy in our Krishna consciousness. This is our greeting. This is how we should check. We should check, because if you are making progress Krishna consciously, we don't have problem. There's no problem. Everything is finished. We have problem only if there is deviation in our practice. So, a liberated soul will not ask about our body. If the soul is pure, the body have no problem. If the body is only taking care of the soul is suffering, then we have problem. The king replied, "O base of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee." The best thing, the one good quality in Uttanapad Maharaj is that at least he repented for doing something wrong. He repented from it, and he condemned himself, even though he didn't do anything to rectify the situation, but at least he has a remorseful mind. At the same time, he has taught us the danger of being attached. If we are attached to anything material, we will suffer. Anything material. In this verse, there are some specific words which are to be understood very carefully. The king said that since he was very much addicted to his wife, he had lost all his mercy. That is the result of becoming too affectionate towards women. We should learn from that. Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest, and since his mother was being neglected by the king, she was therefore almost banished also. The king repented, having banished his boy, for Dhruva was only 5 years old, and a father should not banish his wife and children or neglect their maintenance. Repentant over his neglect of both Suniti and her son, he was morose, and his face appeared withered. My dear Brahmana, the face of my son was just like a lotus flower. I am thinking of his precarious condition. He is unprotected and might be very hungry. He might have lain down somewhere in the forest, and the wolves might have attacked him to eat his body. Alas, just see how I was conquered by my wife. Just imagine my cruelty. Out of love and affection, the boy was trying to get up on my lap, but I did not receive him, nor did I even pat him for a moment. Just imagine how hard-hearted I am. Narada replied to the king. The great said, Narada Muni replied, "My dear king, please do not be aggrieved about your son. He is well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although you have no actual information of his influence, his reputation is already spread all over the world." That the Muni reputation is already spread all over the world. What has been ordained by providence, no one can undo it, except Krishna himself. So, trying to protect that which is already protected has no value. Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee. So what can happen to him? So Narada Muni informed him he should not waste his time thinking about how to protect Dhruva Maharaj. My dear king, your son is very competent. He will perform activities which will be impossible even for great kings and sages. Very soon, he will complete his task and come back home. You should know that he will also spread your reputation all over the world. Very, very powerful and important. According to Vaishnava philosophy, the spiritual master occupies the post of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, he is a bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord. Dhruva Maharaj is also described here as Prabhu because he is an Acharya of the Vaishnava school. Another meaning of Prabhu is master of the senses, just like the word Swami. Another significant word is Shudushkaram. Very difficult to perform. And what is that task that Dhruva Maharaj undertook? The most difficult task in life is what? To satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Dhruva Maharaj will be able to do that. He will remember that, we must remember that Dhruva Maharaj was not fickle. He was determined to execute his service and then come back. Every devotee, therefore, should be determined in this life, that in this life, he will be able to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by that process go back home, back to Godhead. That is the perfection of the highest mission of life. Everyone should be determined. I will not go anywhere but to remain with Krishna. And nothing will take me away from Krishna until I make Krishna first of first. I will not give up. This determination, every devotee should have. Nothing can take my Krishna consciousness away from me. We learn this from Dhruva Maharaj. The grace said, Maitreya continued. The king, Uttanapad, after being advised by Narada Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son, Dhruva Maharaj. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuban, took his bath in the river Jamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as Narada Muni instructed and guided him. He engaged himself fully into that. And what is the result? Papa said, the significance of this particular verse is that Dhruva Maharaj acted exactly according to the advice of his spiritual master, the great sage Narada. He acted exactly. He did not interpret, Narada Muni did not interpret the order given to him by the spiritual master. He didn't do it at his own time. He did it. When the spiritual master gave the order, he followed it. He didn't twist it. So the Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur also advises that if we want to be successful in our attempt to go back to Godhead, we must very seriously act according to the instruction of the spiritual master. That is the way of perfection. That is the way of perfection. The way of perfection is to follow the order given by the spiritual master completely. There need be no anxiety over attaining perfection, because if one follows the instruction given by the spiritual master, he is sure to attain perfection. Our only concern should be how to execute the order of the spiritual master. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples. And if the disciple execute the order of the spiritual master, that is the way of his perfection. Proper repeated this, the way of perfection. We should follow the order of the spiritual master completely. So Dhruva has gone to the forest after he had been instructed. So what did he do? He has gone to the forest with great determination, fixed intelligence. He's fully resolved to follow the order the spiritual master had given. So what did he do there? For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries on every third day. On every third day. For 1 month, Dhruva Maharaj ate what? Fruits and berries. Every 3 days, not every day. Every 3 days we eat. Only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj, however, accepted such food, not for luxurious feasting, but just to keep his body and soul together. That's the only reason he ate. The body needs food, but the devotee should not accept food stuff to satisfy the tongue in sense gratification. Eat only what is necessary to keep the body and the soul together. Nothing more. Nothing more. It is impossible in this age to follow Dhruva Maharaj in his austerity, but the principles must be followed. The principle of austerity must be followed. We cannot eat berries after 3 days like Dhruva Maharaj, but at least we can observe Ekadasi. Right? We can observe Ekadasi. Not remembering food in Ekadasi day. We should not remember food on Ekadasi day. Difficult? Difficult? Huh? That is Ekadasi. That's Ekadasi. If you want 100%, don't remember food. Always read Bhagavatam as you're doing and chant Hare Krishna. There's only 2 things to do in Ekadasi. That's all. Forget about food. We should not be what is it? We should not disregard these regulative principles given by our spiritual master, for they make it easier for the conditioned soul. As far as our ISKCON movement is concerned, we simply ask that one observe the 4 regulative principles, chant 16 rounds, and instead of indulging in luxurious eating for the tongue, simply accept prasadam offered to the Lord. Even that is very difficult. By Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we have been given all concessions possible for this age. So at least we should always remember that neglect of our prescribed duties in devotional service will not make us successful in the mission we have undertaken. It is our duty to follow in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj, for he was very determined. We should also be determined to finish our duties in executing devotional service in this life. We should not wait for another life to finish our job. We shouldn't wait. We should not think that we have time. We should finish it this lifetime. This is proper desire for all of us. All of us who have come to Christian consciousness. He desired that we should finish it. He said we should not wait for the next life. We should try to finish it this lifetime. That's what Dhruva Maharaj did in the first month. The second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every 6 days. And for his eatables, he took dry grass and leaves. This is not possible. Thus he continued his worship It's not possible for you. In the 10th month, he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely entranced and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by selected verses. In the 4th month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise. And thus he inhaled air only every 12 days. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By the 5th month, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion and concentration his mind fully on the Parabrahman. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Dhruva Maharaj captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is a master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. That's the devotion of Dhruva Maharaj. His devotion have the strength to affect the whole world. That's how we know the purity. That's the purity of Dhruva Maharaj's practice. When Dhruva Maharaj was captured the Supreme Personality of God, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. By associating constantly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart, Dhruva Maharaj naturally became equal to the greatest Brahman by his association, and thus became the heaviest, and the entire universe trembled. The Lord is in Dhruva Maharaj's heart. And he is the universe himself. He has a form of the universe. So he's carrying the supreme, heaviest person in his heart. So can he be light? Be heavy like the Supreme Lord. So he shook the whole universe. That is how we should be. In conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of Krishna within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. This is the perfection of yoga performance, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6:47. Yoginam api sarvesam. Of all yogis, the Bhakti yogi who thinks of Krishna always within his heart and engages in his loving transcendental service, he is the topmost. Ordinary yogis can exhibit wonderful material activities known as Asasiddhi, 8 kinds of yogic perfection. But a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass these perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble. That's not the Muni did. And Prabhupada did. Prabhupada did. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg. The pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. This is wonderful. Dhruva Maharaj ki. His devotion is great. His mind has not deviated from the Lord. His mind is fixed. And carrying the load, carrying the Supreme Lord in his heart. We have super soul in our heart. Why we don't shake the universe like Dhruva Maharaj? Super soul is not in our heart. Is super soul not in our heart? So why we don't shake the world? Why we're not shaking the world like Dhruva Maharaj? Super soul is here. Why? Why we're not shaking the world? Okay, we're distracted with so many things. Okay, good. What else?
We're not meditating.
We got a complete realization that Paramatma is there.
Okay, yeah. We don't have the realization. We had many times, but the realization is different. Yes. Yes, sir.
We're not meditating on the Lord in our heart. Like Dhruva Maharaj.
We have not captured him yet. We have not captured him. We just super soul is a super soul in the heart. Super soul. We have not realized it. We have not even believed it. That is there. If we believe, we'll be listening to him because he's speaking to us every time. We don't believe he's there, so we don't listen. We don't listen what he's telling us. So we continue to do our own whimsical things. So we don't feel it. But Dhruva Maharaj fixed his mind on the Lord for 6 months without deviation. Steadily, he was fixed. Because of that, the super soul became completely manifest. Not just a super soul now. He is fully realized. As a result of that, he's shaking the whole world with his purity, with his force. Devotees have the potency, the power to make Krishna felt by others. That potency devotees have. They make Krishna felt by who comes in contact with them. They make Krishna present. They make us to realize Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj is showing that potency here. Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg. The pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. Yeah. Prophet said it's a foolish person can ask a question. A foolish person can ask a question. How is it that Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth? What is the difficulty with that? What is the difficulty? If your son becomes the prime minister in India, will you insult him in his office? Your son is not the prime minister. Will you insult him in his office? Will you do that? No, you'll be arrested and punished. Because although he's your son, but what is his position now? He's ruling the whole. So you cannot misbehave. In other words, we should not think that because I know this devotee, he was not waking up from Mangalati always. He overeat and is very dirty. because I have seen him like that for years, that means he cannot change. So when he has changed, we still look at him like that. It's an offense. He has changed. He has changed. He's no more that kind of person we know before. He's a different person now. So Dhruva Maharaj is a different person now. So if you learn how to take things as they are, not always living in the past. Devotees who live in the past will not make advancement in Krishna consciousness. We should always live in the present and prepare for the future. By this logic, one should think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. That is not true. Now she's grown up, so she's properly dressed, so she's no more naked. So we should not think that she should be naked because she was naked when she's a child. The stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way since he had refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father. How could Dhruva perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded. It's a mistake. We should not live in the past. We should live in the present always and prepare for the future. That's Krishna consciousness, always present. When Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up. And all the great demigods in all the planetary systems felt suffocated. And those took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is wonderful. Wonderful. When hundreds of airplanes are sitting in, persons are sitting in an airplane, although they remain individual units, they each share in the total force of the airplane, which runs at thousands of miles per hour. Similarly, when unit energy is identified with the service of the total energy, the unit energy becomes as powerful as the total energy. So Dhruva Maharaj had become powerful like Krishna. Yes, like Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So therefore, we should not be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised that he's so heavy like Krishna, that the whole world is feeling his presence. As explained in the previous verse, Dhruva Maharaj, because of his spiritual advancement, became almost the total heaviness. And thus, he pressed down the whole earth. Moreover, by such spiritual power, his unit body became the total body of the universe. He is not alone now. He's not just the Dhruva which we know. Now he is a different person altogether. By his Krishna consciousness, he has become a different person. He's a pure devotee. A pure devotee has the power of Krishna to represent him and do something powerful. Krishna empowered his devotee to kill so many demons. Jarasandha was not killed by Krishna. As powerful as he is, Krishna left him to be killed by Bhimsena. So in this way, he gave credit to him. Because he's connected with him. It's a unit. God means it's tiny. But connected with the unlimited, one becomes also unlimited like Krishna. Thus, when he closed the holes of his unit body to firmly concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj blocked everything. There is nothing again which has any meaning, any attraction for Dhruva except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. is completely absorbed in Krishna. Merged into Krishna, not like in personality, in consciousness. In consciousness. But the individuality remains. But in consciousness, he merged into Krishna completely. All the unit of the universe, namely all the living entities, including the big demigods, felt the pressure of suffocation, as if their breathing were being choked. Therefore, they all took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they were perplexed as to what had happened. This is what a devotee does. When a devotee has difficulty, doesn't go anywhere. You run to Krishna only. That is where we know who is a devotee and who is not a devotee. Whom do we run to when we have difficulty? Whom do we run to? Whom do you call for? Do we complicate the situations, or we go directly to take shelter of Krishna and make everything simple? Very important. Very important. The last part. This example of Dhruva Maharaj closing the holes of his personal body and thereby closing the breathing holes of the total universe clearly indicated that a devotee, by his personal devotional service, can influence all the people of the whole world to become devotees of the Lord. If there is only one pure devotee in pure Krishna consciousness, he can change the total consciousness of the whole world into Krishna consciousness. This is not very difficult to understand if we study the behavior of Dhruva Maharaj. Who comes to our mind? Srila Prabhupada ki. Prabhupada carried Krishna consciousness all over the world and changed the whole world. This mentioned he planted Krishna all over the world. He planted Krishna all over the world. He planted Krishna also in the devotees who hear from him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.